When a mother walks into a police station to report her missing child, she expects help. But when a black mother does it in a small southern town, sometimes she's treated like the problem. They laugh when she begged them to take her seriously. They mocked her when she showed her daughter's photo. What they didn't know was that the woman they were ignoring wasn't just a desperate mother. She was about to expose the entire department. And 3 days later, the FBI will be standing at their door. Every story deserves to be told. Subscribe now and never miss the next one. Rain slapped against the windows of the Claiborne County Police Station. The clock on the wall read 9:47 p.m. The front desk officer, a young man with a half-eaten sandwich, barely looked up when Vanessa Harris stepped in. She was 39, a school counselor, still wearing her badge from work. Her eyes were red from crying. She clutched her phone, showing a photo of her 16-year-old daughter Tiana, smiling in a yellow hoodie. "Please," she said, voice trembling. "My daughter's missing. She didn't come home from school. It's been 7 hours." Officer Mike Greeley sighed. Kids go missing all the time. She probably ran off with friends." "Tiana's not like that." Vanessa shot back. "She always texts me after school. This isn't her." But Mike just leaned back in his chair, annoyed. "Come back in 24 hours, okay? That's a protocol." Vanessa's voice cracked. By then, she could be gone for good. He shrugged, muttered something about overreacting, and went back to his phone. She stood there, frozen, helpless in the same building that was supposed to protect her. From the hallway, Sergeant Randy Collins appeared, mid-40s, heavy-set, smug-smake, the kind of man who carried authority like a weapon. "What's the issue here?" Mike gestured lazily. "Missing kid report. Probably another runaway." Vanessa turned to him desperately. "Please, Sergeant. Her name is Tiana Harris. 16. She was last seen walking home from Claiborne High. I called everyone. Nobody's seen her." Collins crossed his arms. "Did she have a boyfriend?" "No." "Any trouble at school?" "No." He sighed. "Then you should wait it out. Kids these days love attention. Don't waste our time." The words "waste our time" burned into her. She slammed her hands on the counter. "My daughter is missing, and if you won't look for her, I will." The station fell silent. Collins stared at her, a sneer spreading across his face. "What's your tone?" She stared back. "What's your badge?" And with that, Vanessa turned and stormed out into the rain. By midnight, Vanessa was walking the streets with a flashlight, her shoes soaked, her voice hoarse from calling Tiana's name. She printed flyers at the gas station, handed them to strangers, begged people to share them online. At 2:30 a.m., she stood outside Claiborne High, staring at the locked gates. That's when she saw it, Tiana's backpack, half buried in mud near the fence. Her heart stopped. She picked it up with shaking hands. Inside were her daughter's notebooks, phone charger, and wallet. But the phone was gone. Vanessa ran back to the police station, drenched and trembling. "I found her bag. You have to come now." Officer Greeley rolled his eyes. "We'll send someone in the morning." "Morning? The evidence is there right now." He chuckled. It's pouring out. No one's going to dig through the mud at 3 a.m. Vanessa's tears mixed with the rain. "If she were your daughter, you'd be out there right now." He looked up slowly, jaw tightening. "Careful what you imply." She realized then she was alone. The next morning, Vanessa went live on Facebook, voice shaking but strong. "My daughter, Tiana Harris, went missing last night. The police won't help. If anyone sees her, please contact me." The video went viral overnight. Comments flooded in. "Praying for you." "Share this everywhere." "Why isn't the police helping?" By noon, a reporter from Channel 7 News called. They met outside the high school, camera rolling. Vanessa held up the backpack. "They ignored me. They said my daughter ran away. But I found this myself. In the rain. Where were they?" The segment aired that evening. By midnight, it had 1 million views. The next morning, the phones at Claiborne Police Station rang nonstop. Reporters, activists, parents. Sergeant Collins slammed the receiver down. Turn off those damn phones. Officer Greeley muttered, "She's making us look bad." Colin sneered, "Don't worry, these things blow over." But it didn't, because 12 hours later, an unmarked black SUV pulled into the station's lot. Out stepped FBI agent Naomi Trent, sharp, calm, and all business. Who's in charge of the Harris missing persons case? The room went silent. Collins blinked. "That's a local matter, Agent. We've got it handled." She raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because according to our office, you refused to file her report. And now, we've got federal interest." In the interrogation room, Naomi placed Vanessa's live stream on the screen. "You see this?" she asked the officers. "This is evidence of neglect, not by the victim's family, but by law enforcement." Colin squirmed. "We didn't have probable cause." "You had a missing child and a backpack found near a school fence," Naomi snapped. "That's more than cause." Mike Greeley looked pale. "We didn't think it was that serious." "Then why was her phone pinged near the old sawmill last night?" The officers froze. Naomi continued. "We traced it through a friend's location share. Your department never checked." She leaned forward. "We're taking over this investigation. Effective immediately." Collins clenched his jaw, but said nothing. By sunset, the area was crawling with FBI vans, dogs, and drones. Vanessa stood behind the yellow tape, heart pounding. Agent Trent approached her gently. "Mrs. Harris, I promise you, we'll find your daughter." Tears welled in Vanessa's eyes. "You're the first person who said that." Naomi nodded. Sometimes justice starts when someone stops ignoring the truth. A radio crackled. "Agent Trent, we found something." They followed the beam of a flashlight. Behind the sawmill fence lay a shallow trench, and inside, a torn piece of yellow hoodie fabric. Vanessa gasped. "Tiana." Naomi put a hand on her shoulder. "We're going to find her. I promise." The camera fades to black as sirens wail in the distance, and the narrator's voice cuts in. They ignored her once, but now the whole country was watching. What the FBI found at that abandoned sawmill didn't just change the missing persons case. It exposed something darker hiding beneath the surface of Claiborne County. The small-town police thought they buried their mistakes. But when the agents started digging, they uncovered a secret buried for years, one that would make national headlines and bring a mother's worst nightmare to light. Asterisk. The morning air was thick with humidity and tension. Claiborne County had never seen this many black SUVs and news vans in one place. FBI tents lined the old sawmill property. Drones buzzed overhead. The scent of pine and oil hung in the air. Agent Naomi Trent stood with her hands on her hips, scanning the area. Her calm but commanding presence silenced every officer nearby. Behind her, Vanessa Harris waited near the caution tape, clutching her daughter's photo. Her eyes were puffy, but fierce, the look of a mother who wouldn't break until she had answers. A forensics tech waved Naomi over. "Agent Trent, you need to see this." They led her behind the main shed to a half-buried object sticking out of the mud. Naomi knelt down. It was a cell phone, caked in dirt. The tech carefully bagged it. The cracked screen still glowed faintly, showing a blurred photo. Tiana smiling beside a friend at school. "We'll get this to the lab," Naomi said. "If it's Hayes, we'll pull the GPS data, last messages, everything." Then she turned to the sheriff's deputy who had arrived late. "Was this area ever searched before?" He hesitated. 2 years ago. Different case. Another missing girl." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "And never solved." Back at the mobile command van, Agent Trent watched as the techs extracted data from the phone. Lines of code filled the monitors. Then, a notification tone. "We've got a match," the technician said. The phone last pinged at 7:38 p.m., same night she disappeared. And there's another device nearby, same tower, same time frame. Naomi leaned in. "Whose?" The tech pulled up the number. "Registered to Officer Mike Greeley." Naomi's jaw tightened. He was at the station, wasn't he? According to the logs, yes, but his phone wasn't. She picked up the radio. "I want Officer Greeley brought in. Now." The same room where Vanessa once begged for help now held the man who ignored her. Officer Greeley sat across from Agent Trent, fidgeting. "You told Mrs. Harris her daughter probably ran away," Naomi said. "Why?" "Because that's what usually happens," he muttered. "We can't chase every runaway." Naomi cut him off. "But you didn't file a report. You didn't even log her name. And your phone was at the sawmill the same night she disappeared." Greeley swallowed hard. That's not possible. I left my phone in my patrol car." "And your car was where?" "Silence. At the sawmill," he whispered. Naomi's eyes hardened. "You're suspended. Don't leave town." She stood, grabbed her coat, and stepped into the hallway, where Vanessa was waiting. Vanessa's voice trembled. "What's happening?" Naomi sighed. "We found a connection to one of the officers who ignored you." Vanessa's hand covered her mouth. "You're telling me the same people who refused to help me might be involved?" Naomi met her eyes. "It's looking that way." Inside the Claiborne County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Harlan Boone, a tall, red-faced man with decades of old-school authority, was watching the chaos unfold on his security monitors. He muttered under his breath, "Damn FBI thinks they own this place." Deputy Collins, the same man who mocked Vanessa, walked in, pale and sweating. "They are pulling records. Harlan. Everything. Dispatch logs, patrol routes, even your old case files." Boone's eyes flicked to a locked cabinet. "Those files stay put. You hear me? What do we do?" Collins asked. Boone leaned forward. "We wait it out. The feds don't stick around forever." But they didn't realize one of Naomi's agents was listening just outside the door. 2 hours later, Agent Trent returned with a search warrant. She walked straight to the locked cabinet and ordered it opened. Boone tried to protest. "Those are sealed files from a closed investigation." "A case involving another missing black girl," Naomi interrupted. 2 years ago. Same age, same school." "What are you hiding, Sheriff?" Boone's jaw twitched. "You've got no idea what it's like keeping order around here." Naomi shot back. "You mean keeping people quiet." Inside the cabinet were a dozen old files, faded, water-stained, all marked unsolved, each one with a photo of a young black girl. Vanessa gasped when she saw them. "All these girls, and you never told the families." Naomi turned to her, voice steady but full of fury. "This isn't a missing person case anymore. It's a pattern." That night, a call came in from a nearby trailer park. A man named Eddie Watts, mid-50s, said he'd seen a car near the sawmill the night Tiana disappeared. Naomi and Vanessa drove there together. Eddie lived alone, a former mechanic with shaking hands and a nervous stutter. "I didn't want to say nothing before," he muttered. "They told me not to." Naomi frowned. "Who told you not to?" He looked down. "Those cops said if I talked, I'd lose my place." Naomi leaned closer. "What did you see?" Eddie hesitated, then whispered, "That girl, the one on TV. I saw her get in a police car that night. She didn't look scared, not at first. The driver said he'd take her home. But the car turned toward the sawmill road." Vanessa's heart dropped. "Do you remember who the driver was?" Eddie nodded slowly. "That same officer they just arrested. Greeley." By morning, Naomi had the warrant signed. They searched Greeley's home, a small white house on the outskirts of town. Inside the garage, they found something chilling, a box labeled evidence. Inside, women's jewelry, photos, and a half-burned phone. Vanessa's eyes widened. "That necklace, that's Tiana's." Naomi's voice hardened. "We've got him." But before they could process it, another agent called out from the driveway. "Agent Trent, you need to see this." Behind Greeley's shed, hidden under a tarp, was a second police cruiser, stripped of decals, its plates removed, and inside the trunk was a handwritten notebook filled with addresses and dates. Naomi flipped through the pages. Each line listed the names of missing girls, including Tiana Harris. At the bottom, scrawled in ink, "No one ever looks twice." When officers brought Greeley into custody, he didn't fight. He just stared blankly as Naomi read him his rights. Vanessa watched from behind the glass, her face a storm of grief and fury. "Why, huh?" she whispered. Greeley's voice was eerily calm. "You think anyone cared before you came along? Nobody listens until it's too late." Naomi slammed her hand on the table. "That's exactly why we're here." Outside, reporters gathered as the FBI led Greeley out in cuffs. The story spread across every major outlet. Mother's viral plea leads to FBI raid in Claiborne County. But something in Naomi's gut still felt wrong. "He's not the only one," she said quietly. "There's more to this." That night, Naomi sat in her car reviewing the file from the sheriff's cabinet. Each missing girl, different years, same description, same area, but one thing stood out. Every single case was logged under Sergeant Randy Collins, the same man who mocked Vanessa. Naomi picked up a phone and dialed headquarters. "I need a warrant for Sergeant Collins. Now." Outside the window, the church bells tolled midnight. Vanessa's voiceover filled the final shot. "They said my daughter ran away. They said it wasn't serious. But I knew something was wrong, and now I know who's been hiding the truth." Detective Naomi Trent couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about the man who first took over the missing persons file, Sergeant Alan Brooks. He had a calm face, the kind of easy authority that made people trust him instantly. But something about his demeanor bothered her. It wasn't just the way he deflected questions or avoided eye contact when the name FBI came up. It was a faint smirk that crossed his face when she mentioned the old sawmill. That night, Naomi sat in her dimly lit office, the desk lamp casting long shadows across a sea of folders. On the top of the stack was a file of Leah Wallace, the missing 17-year-old whose disappearance had shaken the small Alabama town. Leah had been missing for almost 2 months. No ransom, no trace, no real leads. Just a devastated mother, Evelyn Wallace, and a town that wanted the story to go away. Naomi flipped through the notes again, pages filled with interviews, search logs, and police reports. Sergeant Brooks' handwriting appeared in several of them. Same tone, same quick dismissal of leads. She leaned back in her chair and whispered, "You're hiding something, Sergeant." Across town, Evelyn sat in her living room, holding a photo of Leah in her prom dress. The soft smile, the pink gown, the night that was supposed to mark the start of a bright future. Evelyn had begged the police for weeks, even pleaded outside the courthouse. "If it were your daughter, you'd search every corner," she had shouted once, her voice echoing across the stone steps. Most of the officers had just looked away, until the day the FBI arrived. Naomi still remembered the tension in the station that morning. 2 black SUVs rolled in, sleek and silent. Agents in dark suits stepped out, and the entire precinct fell quiet. The lead agent, Marcus Hale, tall, clean-cut, and sharp-eyed, introduced himself with a cold efficiency. He flashed his badge, but it wasn't the usual FBI emblem Naomi expected. It was from the Special Investigations Division, a branch she'd barely heard of. They were there for Leah Wallace's case. Naomi was assigned as a local liaison, something that made Brooks visibly uncomfortable. He argued that the FBI was overstepping. But the look Marcus gave him, steady, knowing, silenced him fast. Now, sitting in her office after midnight, Naomi replayed that argument in her head. "You don't want them digging up the sawmill, do you?" she whispered under her breath. She opened her laptop and started pulling property records. The sawmill had been shut down for years, listed under a shell company owned by someone named A. Brooks Enterprises. Her stomach turned cold. At the same moment, Marcus Hale stood at a motel window, watching rain streak down the glass. His phone buzzed with a secure message. "You were right. The sawmill connects to 2 prior disappearances." He exhaled slowly. "Then we're not just looking for Leah," he murmured. The next morning, Naomi arrived at the precinct early. She wanted to confront Brooks before anyone else arrived. But as she walked in, she noticed his desk was cleared. No files, no personal items, just an empty space. She rushed to the evidence locker. Leah's file was gone. Panic set in. She called Marcus immediately. "He's running," Marcus said flatly. "We're tracking him." 2 hours later, they found Brooks' patrol car abandoned on a dirt road near the edge of town. Inside was his badge, his service weapon, and a folded letter addressed to Naomi. She hesitated, then opened it. Detective Trent, you were getting too close. There are things in this town that should stay buried. Leah wasn't supposed to be part of it, but she found something she shouldn't have. The sawmill isn't what you think it is. If you value your life, stop digging. A.B. Naomi's hands trembled as she read. Is admitting something, she said to Marcus. But what did Leah find? Marcus nodded grimly. We're going to find out tonight. They assembled a small tactical team and drove toward the old sawmill. The road was swallowed in fog, the kind that made headlights look like ghostly orbs. The air smelled of wet wood and rust. When they reached the mill, the silence was thick, almost unnatural. The massive structure loomed in the dark, its decaying walls whispering secrets of years past. Stay close, Marcus instructed, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. Inside, the air was heavy with dust. The beams creaked overhead. Naomi's heart pounded as they moved deeper into the structure, past broken equipment and graffiti-covered walls. Then, in the far corner, she saw something that made her stop cold. A small trapdoor in the floor, freshly painted. Marcus knelt and pried it open. Beneath it was a narrow tunnel descending into darkness. A faint hum echoed up, a generator. Maybe. They climbed down, weapons drawn. At the bottom, they found a series of rooms, makeshift offices, metal tables, file cabinets, and maps pinned on the wall. There were photos, too, dozens of them. Leah Wallace's picture was among them, but she wasn't the only one. There were 5 others, all marked with dates and symbols. Naomi's breath caught. He's been tracking them, all the missing girls. Marcus's jaw tightened. This isn't just one man. This is an operation. Suddenly, a noise echoed from the far end of the tunnel, a faint shuffle of footsteps. They toned, flashlight sweeping the dark. A figure stepped out, Alan Brooks, but he wasn't in uniform. His face was pale, his eyes sunken, and there was a small pistol trembling in his right hand. Don't move, Marcus shouted. Brooks smiled weakly. You don't get it, do you? You're too late. They're already cleaning up. Who? Naomi demanded. Who's behind this? Brooks hesitated, then lowered his gun. You really think this town runs itself? You think all these disappearances were random? His voice cracked. You should have stayed away from the mill. Leah, she saw the trucks. She tried to tell her mom. That's why they took her. Before Naomi could respond, a loud pop echoed through the tunnel. Brooks stumbled backward, a red bloom spreading across his chest. Sniper shot. Marcus dove for cover, dragging Naomi behind a steel beam. The echo faded, replaced by the distant roar of an engine. Whoever had fired was escaping. Naomi pressed her hand against her ears, trying to steady her breathing. He was going to talk, she said, trembling. He was going to tell us everything. Marcus scanned the shadows, fury in his eyes. He told us enough. What do you mean? He stood, flashlight illuminating the wall of photos again. His eyes stopped at a single picture pinned in the center, an old black-and-white photo of men in police uniforms. One of them was Brooks, standing beside the current police chief, Harold Mills. The man behind the badge, Marcus whispered. It's not just Brooks. It's the entire department. Naomi's blood ran cold. She turned toward the tunnel exit, where the distant wail of sirens began to grow louder. But she didn't feel relief, only dread. Because if Marcus was right, those sirens didn't mean help was coming. They meant they'd been found. Marcus looked at her, eyes sharp. We can't go back to the station. Not now. Then where? She asked, breath shaking. He hesitated. We find Evelyn, and we make sure she knows the truth before they silence her too. As they disappeared into the night, the sawmill lights flickered out one by one, until only darkness remained. And somewhere deep inside that tunnel, beneath layers of concrete and history, a recording device continued to blink red, quietly capturing every word they'd said. The secrets weren't buried in them all. They were alive, and someone was listening. Rain poured hard that night, drumming against the cracked windshield of Detective Naomi Trent's car as she drove through the back roads of Montgomery County. Beside her, Agent Marcus Hale scrolled through his encrypted tablet, eyes sharp, expression unyielding. The glow from the screen reflected off his face, calm but haunted. Behind them, miles of darkness stretched endlessly, and every pair of headlights that appeared in the rearview mirror felt like threat. "They know we're on to them," Naomi said quietly. Marcus nodded. Brooks didn't act alone. His death wasn't cleanup, it was a warning. A moment of silence followed. The rain grew heavier, blurring the world outside. Then Naomi added, "We need to find Evelyn. If Chief Mills is part of this, she's the only witness left who can still tell her story." Marcus's voice dropped to a low whisper, "And she's the one they'll silence next." When they reached Evelyn Wallace's house, the lights were off. Naomi's instincts flared. She grabbed her gun, motioned for Marcus to cover the back door. The porch creaked beneath her boots as she knocked softly. No answer. She turned the doorknob, unlocked. Inside, the house was eerily quiet. A cup of tea sat untouched on the table, steam long gone cold. The clock on the wall ticked loud in the silence. Naomi moved cautiously through the living room until she spotted something on the floor, a framed photo of Leah and Evelyn, cracked down the middle. Then came a faint sound, a muffled cry. Naomi followed it down the hall, pushing open the bedroom door. Evelyn sat in a chair, hands bound with duct tape, eyes wide with terror. Standing behind her was a man in plain clothes, short-cropped blonde hair, badge clipped to his belt. "Put it down," Naomi shouted. The man turned slowly, a smirk forming on his face. "Detective Trent, you just don't know when to quit, do you?" Marcus appeared at the doorway, gun raised. "Step away from her, now." But the man didn't move. He lifted his hand slightly, flashing his badge. "Relax, Agent. I'm with Internal Affairs. Chief Mills sent me to bring this woman in for questioning." Naomi didn't buy it. Since when does Internal Affairs duct tape witnesses? The smirk faded, since they stopped being witnesses and start being problems. Before he could move, Marcus fired, a warning shot that shattered the picture frame beside his head. The man cursed and dove through the window, glass exploding outward. Naomi rushed Evelyn's side, tearing off the tape. Evelyn gasped for air, trembling. They came for me. Said Leah's case was being reopened, but she broke off, tears streaming. They said if I talked to you again, I'd end up like her. Naomi's chest tightened. "Evelyn, listen to me. You're not safe here. We need to move now." Marcus grabbed the woman's coat and helped her up. "There's a safe house in the next county. We'll keep her there until we have enough to go public." But as they left, Naomi's eyes drifted toward the photo of Leah again. That smile, it wasn't just a memory now. It was a promise. 2 hours later, they reached the safe house, a remote cabin tucked deep in the pines. Marcus made a perimeter sweep, while Naomi helped Evelyn settle in. "I can't keep running," Evelyn said softly. "They'll never stop." Naomi crouched beside her. "You said Leah saw something at the sawmill. What was it?" Evelyn hesitated. "She never told me directly, but a week before she disappeared, she came home shaken. Said she'd seen police cars down by the old warehouse near the river. She thought they were moving evidence. She even took a picture on her phone." Naomi's pulse quickened. "Do you still have it?" Evelyn nodded weakly. "It's in her old tablet. I kept it locked away." Marcus stepped in. "Then we have our next stop. That tablet might be the key to all this." Naomi turned to him. "We'll need to go back to her house. But if Mills knows we're alive, he'll have men watching." Marcus smirked. "Then we don't go through the front door." By 3 a.m., they were parked 3 blocks away from Evelyn's house, the neighborhood dead quiet except for the hum of cicadas. Marcus handed Naomi a black hoodie and night vision flashlight. "You take the back window," he said. "I'll cover the street. If anyone shows up, we're gone." Naomi moved like a shadow, slipping through the yard and climbing in through the side. Inside, the air smelled of dust and fay. She crept to Leah's room, posters on the wall, a half-finished painting, and the tablet sitting on a shelf beside her old diary. She turned it on. Password protected. Naomi frowned, thinking. Leah's birthday. The 16th of July, '06. The screen unlocked instantly. There were dozens of photos, selfies, school events, random sunsets. Then she found it. A blurry image of a loading dock near the river. Several men in police uniforms loading crates into an unmarked truck. But the man standing in front, his face was unmistakable. Chief Harold Mills. Naomi exhaled. Got you. She backed up the photo and scrolled further. Another video file caught her eye, timestamped 2 days before Leah vanished. She hit play. The footage showed Leah filming from a distance, her voice trembling. They're moving something. It's not drugs, it's... The video cut out suddenly. Then a sound echoed from the hole. Boots. Naomi killed the tablet light and ducked behind the bed. The floorboards creaked, slow and deliberate. A flashlight beam swept across the wall. Detective Trent, a deep voice drawled. You really should have stayed out of this. Mills. He was standing in the doorway, gun in hand, eyes filled with calm menace. Naomi held her breath, hand tightening around her pistol. She could see his reflection in the mirror, confident, certain, untouchable. I knew you were ambitious, he continued, stepping closer. But you don't understand the bigger picture. This isn't about one missing girl. It's about control, about who gets to decide what truth reaches the public. He took another step. Leah wasn't supposed to see the shipment. Brooks tried to handle it quietly, but she panicked. So we did what had to be done. Naomi's blood boiled. You murdered her. He smirked. I maintained order. She didn't wait another second. She swung out from behind the bed and fired once, hitting his shoulder. Mills stumbled backward, cursing. Naomi bolted through the door, tablet clutched to her chest. Marcus's car screeched around the corner as she sprinted out the back door. He threw it open and yelled, Go! Go! Bullets tore through the night as they sped off. Naomi glanced in the mirror. Mills stood in the yard, blood seeping through his uniform, raising his gun in one hand, phone in the other. They'll have every cop in the county looking for us now, Marcus said grimly. Naomi didn't care. She held up the tablet. We have proof. Video, names, timestamps. Everything. Marcus's eyes hardened. Then we take it to the one place Mills can't touch. Where? He looked straight ahead. The U.S. Attorney's office in D.C. The rain started again, washing the blood from Naomi's sleeve. She looked down at the tablet glowing faintly in her hand, Leah's final recording frozen on the screen. Her voice was shaky, afraid, but defiant. If something happens to me, tell my mom I was right. Naomi felt her throat tighten. We will, Leah, she whispered. We will. As they disappeared down the highway, flashing blue lights began to appear in the distance, faint at first, then multiplying. The storm was closing in. The cover-up wasn't just local. It went all the way to Washington. The night bled into dawn as Naomi Trent and Agent Marcus Hale drove north on the I-85. The road stretched endlessly ahead, slick with rain, framed by lightning that flickered across the horizon like flashes from an old camera. The city of Washington, D.C. still lay hours away, but they both knew time was no longer on their side. In the back seat, Evelyn Wallace clutched a warm blanket, trembling in silence. Her eyes were distant, locked somewhere between fear and fury. On Naomi's lap sat Leah's tablet, still glowing faintly, its single video file now the most dangerous evidence in the country. Marcus's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then cursed under his breath. We've got a problem. State police scanners are lighting up. There's a bolo out on us, armed and dangerous. Naomi's hands tightened on the dashboard. Mills used his connections. Marcus nodded grimly. His calling in every favor he has. They'll try to stop us before we cross state lines. Evelyn looked up, voice shaking. You mean they'll kill us? Marcus didn't answer, but his silence said enough. By sunrise, they stopped at an abandoned gas station off a rural road. The wind howled, carrying the smell of wet earth. Marcus checked the car, scanning for trackers. Naomi walked a few paces away, staring at the dark clouds rolling overhead. They'll never let this reach D.C., she said quietly. Not without taking us out first. Marcus joined her, his expression unreadable. Then we don't go straight to D.C. We make them chase us in circles until we find someone outside their reach. Who do you trust? She asked. He hesitated. There's one person. Former federal prosecutor. Name's Elliot Price. He's the type who's made enemies in every agency for asking too many questions. Naomi exhaled. Sound like our kind of guy. They met Price that evening in a quiet diner on the edge of Richmond. He was in his 60s, gray hair, sharp eyes that seemed to see through everything. When Marcus slid the tablet across the table, Price didn't even look down. "I've heard about Mills," he said, voice low. "Local corruption, federal ties. You're not the first to bring me rumors." "Not rumors," Naomi said firmly. "Proof." Price finally glanced at the tablet and played the video. Leah's trembling voice filled the small diner. The footage showed Mills and two officers unloading sealed containers at the riverfront. Then, a close-up, black duffel bags, marked with the U.S. Department of Justice seal. Price's jaw tightened. That's classified equipment. Military-grade surveillance tech. If this is legit, they weren't smuggling drugs. They were running black ops off the record. Naomi frowned. But why in Montgomery County? Why hide it there? "Because it's off the radar," Price said. "No press, no oversight. They could bury anything in a place like that." Evelyn spoke softly. "They buried my daughter." The words hung in the air. Even Marcus looked away. Price nodded slowly. "All right, I'll get this in front of the right people. But you have to understand, once this goes public, there's no going back." Naomi leaned forward. "Good. We're done hiding." 2 hours later, Price made the call. "Secure line, encrypted signal. This is Elliot Price. I'm invoking clearance Delta 6. I've got evidence of internal corruption linked to Chief Harold Mills. Possible illegal federal operations." There was a pause on the other end. Then a cold voice replied, "Understood. Stay where you are. We'll send an extraction team." But Marcus knew that tone too well. He disconnected the call and looked at Naomi. "We're not staying." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "You think?" "They're not sending help," Marcus said. "They are sending cleanup." Price looked startled. "You're saying the call was compromised?" Marcus grabbed the tablet, already heading for the door. "I'm saying the cover-up goes deeper than Mills. This isn't just about local cops. It's federal." Minutes later, the diner's parking lot exploded in chaos. Black SUVs swarmed in from both directions, engines roaring, lights off. Men in tactical gear poured out, shouting orders. Marcus fired the engine of their car. "Hold on." The tires screeched as they sped off down the back road, bullets shattering glass behind them. Naomi ducked low, shielding Evelyn. Marcus took a sharp turn into the woods, branches whipping against the windshield. "We can't outrun them forever." Naomi shouted. "We don't have to," Marcus growled. "Just long enough to send the file." He handed her his phone, already connected to a satellite uplink. "Upload the video to every public channel, news outlets, social media, cloud servers. Flood the system. Make it impossible to erase." Naomi's fingers flew across the screen. Come on. A bullet tore through the rear window, grazing Marcus's shoulder. He grunted in pain but didn't slow down. "Almost there." Naomi said, "Upload at 90%. The car jerked violently as one of the rear tires blew. They spun off the road, crashing into a ditch. Smoke filled the air. Evelyn screamed. Marcus stumbled out, gun in hand. "Go! Get the tablet out of here." Naomi grabbed Evelyn and the device, sprinting through the trees as floodlights swept across the woods. Shouts echoed behind them. "They are heading east. Take them alive." They ran until Naomi's lungs burned. Finally, they reached a ridge overlooking the Potomac River. Helicopters thundered above, cutting through the storm clouds. "Naomi," Marcus's voice came through her earpiece, weak but steady. "Did it finish?" Naomi looked down at the screen, the upload bar frozen at 98%. "Almost," she said, tears mixing with rain. "Just a few more seconds." Then the connection cut. She looked up to see men in black approaching through the trees. Weapons drawn. Naomi stood her ground, clutching the tablet against her chest. "You can kill me," she said, voice trembling. "But it's already out there." One of the men stepped forward, lowering his rifle. "You don't understand. You were never supposed to see any of this." "Neither was Leah," Naomi spat. Before he could respond, a distant boom echoed across the river. The night sky lit up with flashes, broadcast towers, screens, news tickers, all simultaneously coming alive. The file had gone public. The video played on every major network. Chief Mills, his officers, the shipments, all of it. Naomi felt her knees weaken as the soldiers froze, their radios exploding with frantic chatter. "Abort mission," one of them shouted. "We're compromised." Helicopters veered off, the men retreating into the woods. Naomi sank to the ground, clutching the tablet to her chest, shaking with disbelief. Marcus limped out of the darkness, blood on his sleeve, but a fierce smile on his face. "You did it." Evelyn stepped beside them, tears streaming down her face. "Leah, she didn't die for nothing." Naomi looked out over the river. In the distance, the Capitol dome glowed faintly under the storm, surrounded by a swirl of flashing red and blue lights. "They'll deny everything," Marcus said quietly. "They'll call it fake. They'll bury it again." Naomi nodded. "Then we dig deeper." The storm broke above them, lightning cracking open the sky. For the first time, Naomi didn't flinch, because the truth wasn't buried anymore. It was alive, and now it was watching back.